Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. First show of 2022. And we're going to kick it off with JC on the Titan MR hotline. A lot to talk about. We got bowl games to talk about. We got NFL playoffs. Pretty good last couple of days in the sporting world, if you're interested in watching sports. A lot of good stuff. The national championship game is set. Florida, Alabama, Georgia rematch. I got my thoughts on what I think is going to happen, and everybody always has their thoughts. But good morning, JC. How was Dallas?
So, hey, QB, good morning. Yeah, Dallas was fantastic. It was beautiful. The attendance was great. The stadium was packed and lively. If folks are worried about playoff atmosphere or environment being hurt by having the game on New Year's Eve, it certainly didn't show in Dallas. I'm sure it didn't show in Miami either. So everything worked out for the college football playoff guys. They were happy. The games were not as competitive, I'm sure, as they had hoped. We have seen the pattern of this, QB, the semifinal issues with these games. A lot of times you just don't have very competitive games in these semifinals, but you've got, I think, unquestionably the two best teams to play for the championship. That is the end goal. That's what they want. That's the only thing that really matters. I think the bowl season as a whole, for all the things that had to deal with COVID and travel and so forth, worked out pretty good. There were some really exciting football games. I mean, really, really exciting football games. The Rose Bowl comes to mind, obviously. The Fiesta Bowl was really good. And, we had a pretty good bowl season. Again, when you consider everything that folks had to deal with, I think the attendance figures were good. I think the games were competitive for the most part. Again, the semifinal games could have been better, but you got the two best teams playing at their very best right now, playing for it all. Again, Alabama has to beat a team twice to win it, but Georgia gets another shot, and I think we're going to have quite a setup in Indianapolis. Thankfully for those fans, ticket prices are crashing right now. I kind of expected that to be the case now that Michigan and Cincinnati are not a factor.
Yeah, we got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Our good friend and listener, Rick, says on Facebook Live, I just found out my Facebook account has been hacked for the past 3 weeks. Someone has been posting using my name and claiming the Cincinnati Bearcats would beat Alabama. Go figure.
Yeah.
Who would make such a claim? Joking, obviously. Look, I will tell you this. Cincinnati played much more competitive than the Michigan Wolverines did. And I will tell you this.
Well, okay.
Kirby Smart can take something from that game and implement it, because the stunts and the games that the defensive line that Cincinnati ran gave Alabama fits in the passing game. I'm talking fits. Bryce Young was not very comfortable, but we can talk more about that later in the week. Cliff wants me to go ahead, and we'll get to this in a minute, Cliff, about Antonio Brown. We're going to stick with college football for just a minute. So anyway, I thought I was not impressed with the pass protection at all in the passing game, and Alabama threw at Cincinnati. The 3-3 stack gave Alabama fits.
Well, look, Nick Saban said in the postgame, and the way they've always played is that they're going to take what the defense gives you. They had no problem running the football. If you run the ball,
that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Okay,
JC.
I'm not talking about the passing game. I'm talking about the approach Alabama had. It was different than the Georgia game. I think we can understand that pretty clearly based on what we saw on the first drive of the game. They did not throw one pass. They ran the ball down the field and scored. Alabama didn't need to throw the ball, QB. And really, when you get 9, 8...
But you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they didn't do what they had to do to win the game. I'm telling you, and you know some guys that played in the National Football League on the offensive line. I have two very close friends that both, and one of them, their kids play at Alabama, told me that look out for Georgia going to a three-man line in certain situations because the twist and the games and the stunts, Alabama could not handle them. And we will see if Georgia implements that at all because Bryce Young was not comfortable the entire game. He was throwing off his back foot. He was moving around. I would look at it from a coaching perspective, and I'm telling you right now that Alabama is not going to do what they did to Georgia in this game.
Well, I think there's one factor that you have to take into account is that one of Alabama's better wide receivers won't be playing either. But and I certainly think that, you know, if this is the case, if this is how you stop Alabama, then everybody in the SEC should be sending Luke Fickell a Happy New Year's card.
They don't, but that's not true because if you played a 3-3 stack, JC, you do what Alabama did. You run the football. My point is, Georgia has the athletes to run the 3-3 stack or some version of it at times during the game. I'm not saying they're going to run it the whole freaking game. I'm saying at times because then they can pressure the quarterback. They could not pressure the quarterback in game one.
That's true.
They will have to do something different. And I'm telling you, the games and twists and stunts gave Alabama fits. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Alabama's not going to win the game. I'm coming to you from a schematic standpoint of what Cincinnati did well in that game.
Okay, well then Cincinnati seemed to figure out something that nobody else in the conference has been able to figure out.
Because nobody else runs a 3-3 stack.
I get it.
But in America that run the 3-3 stack. Iowa State and Cincinnati. That's where the average fan does not see the schematics of football. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's fine. But if Cincinnati runs the 3-3 stack, and I know that's what Saban was talking about after the game, it could have been run all season long by anybody. You know, when you prepare for a week.
You just don't implement the 3-3 stack overnight. But what Georgia can do is run a three-man line with twists and games and stunts that can cause your offensive lineman problems, which the Bearcats did in the passing game.
Well, I hope that's fine. And if Georgia wants to try that and run three, you know, rush three and hold 8 back and come off the edges, we'll see if Alabama does it.
They don't rush. No. You're not understanding what I'm saying. They line up with 3 men, but they're rushing 5. They're coming from different areas.
I know.
Different stunts.
Right, the edges and so forth. That I did hear what he said after.
Go back and watch the game, and you tell me if y'all pass protected well.
Well, yeah. I don't know if they necessarily pass protected all that well, but I don't know
they were horrible.
But they didn't care. It didn't matter.
It does matter. That's the thing which you're not understanding is you're not going to line up and run the football on Georgia. You're not.
Well,
you're not.
We've heard. This, and we'll see. I've been told what Alabama can't do and won't do, be able to do whatever so many times in the past. If I had been told what Alabama won't do or won't be able to do or can't do, if I had money every time I heard something like that, then they never would have won any championships or I'd be rich. But that's not the case. Look, I get what you're saying, and I do agree that Georgia is going to present a much better game against Alabama, perhaps, than they did in the SEC championship. I get it. I will also tell you this.
I guarantee you they will.
Georgia
I'm coming from the non-average fan that has no idea what a 3-3 stack is or what a stunt or what a T game is. That is what Cincinnati caused problems, and it's not just me. I have 2 guys that played in the National Football League for
that's fine. That's fine.
Combined years.
Nobody's arguing that.
So
all I'm saying is that if that's go ahead. If that's the way you're going to stop Alabama, we haven't seen it yet this season in the SEC. And if you're saying that Georgia is going to put that together in that package in a week's time and do it, I'm only saying, why didn't anybody else try it earlier in the year?
They did. They just didn't have good personnel. I mean, Alabama, you talked about it all year long, how your offensive line didn't block very well. Well, I think they were exposed against Cincinnati. They ran block because they were bigger, stronger against the 3-man line. All right, enough of that. Okay. The bowl games. As you said, there were really good bowl games. I will tell you this. Ohio State has very good backups that obviously are pretty good players.
Jeez.
Because all their guys that opted out, they didn't need them. And the backups are probably a little bit better, honestly. I mean, good gracious, can they throw and catch?
And this kid that, Smith and Jigba, or in Jigba Smith, whatever his name is, it's Smith and Jigba, right? To have 300 yards receiving, that is incredible. And C.J. Stroud, you have to say right now, but just based on that
elite thrower.
Well, and he will be likely the leading candidate for the Heisman next season going into the year. And Ohio State, if they can just find some linebackers and some people that can play some defense a little bit more effectively against the run, perhaps, then maybe that could be one of the top. Well, I think they will be one of the top 3 teams going into the season next year. I mean, that was impressive, but you can still score on them. I was just impressed, though, that how they adjusted, and Utah was somewhat ineffective in the second half. I think it's exciting that Florida gets to see a team like Utah come in here to Gainesville, too, in about 8.5, 9 months, because that'll be interesting to start a season under a new head coach with an entirely new roster, basically, a new team playing against the Pac-12 champions. I like that. I think that'll be neat. I think fans can get excited about it, QB.
Yeah, and they bring in like 15 returning starters from that team as well.
That's a good little team, yeah.
Joseph says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, unfortunate ending for Matt Corral. All that will do is help the opt-out narrative, hoping he gets he's that. Listen, the opting out. Here's what I do not understand. Okay, I understand it's a business decision. Okay, there's only 32 guys that are going to get drafted in the first round. Only 32 in America. Okay, some of those guys aren't even on teams that even played in bowl games. I salute Matt Corral. He wanted to play. Mm-hmm. He probably increased his draft status because pro guys want guys that want to compete. And here's the thing. What people don't realize that in the NFL, let's just use Matt Corral, for example. Gets drafted in the first round. He'll get 4 or 5, depending on where he gets, he's going to get $4, $5, $6, $7 million signing bonus. That is the only money that's guaranteed. Okay. If he gets injured in the National Football League, they will give him, and he can never play again, let's say, but he will get a settlement. He will not get the full contract. I don't think people understand that. Okay, this isn't baseball. This ain't basketball. So my point is, what is the difference in Matt Corral sitting out a bowl game or sitting out week 3 against Tennessee? What is the difference, JC? Can you explain that to me?
No, I see what you said. Well, one is that we, the bowl games clearly. Well, the difference is that in the bowl game.
Okay, so let's use week 5. I'm just going to tell you if you're on a team, if you're on a team and you're 1-4, you have no chance of winning your conference championship. Why play the rest of the year?
Well, okay, QB, you didn't qualify it by saying you didn't qualify anything by saying you're 1-4. Clearly, if you're 1-4, you're not having the season you would have had that Matt Corral had. But I'm going to tell you the answer if you want it. You don't have to. I guess I don't have to. Go ahead. What?
Okay. What if Bryce Young was eligible for the draft, and they said he's going to be the first pick, and he came out this week and said, you know what, I'm opting out. I'm not going to play.
Well, he would have done that after Christmas.
Well, maybe he wants to do it now. He got his team to the championship game. He's like, you know what? There's a risk I may get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think if he was thinking that, he would have played in the semifinal, QB.
Well, my point is, how about I salute the Iowa starting center, projected first-round pick, hurt his knee in the game, came back into the game, and continued to play.
Well, QB, I'm not.
Corral status.
He's fine. He has an
ankle sprain. Nothing's wrong with him.
But QB, right? Yeah, no question. Listen, all of this is really based off what happened with a guy named Jalen Smith. All right, and he played in the Fiesta Bowl for Notre Dame.
And he got drafted in the first round.
And he lost a lot of money. And
whether in the first round.
Yes, but it cost him a lot of money. And okay. I think I think the problem is that player. Look, I'm not going to blame a player for sitting out. I'm not going to blame a player for playing. I think it's an individual, personal decision that's up to him, and that's what matters. QB, what a bowl game does for you is either enhance your status, or it gives you a chance to play for something that you consider important. But in the big scheme of things, whether you play in that bowl game or not, you're not going to get paid a lot of money if your draft status is already intact, more or less. So there's a personal decision that has to be made by the player. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way here. I think it's an individual thing, and I don't begrudge anybody for either sitting out or playing. What I can tell you is that I think it's great that Matt Corral played for Mississippi and that he wanted to be with his teammates and that he couldn't say no to those kids. And that's fine for Matt Corral. It didn't seem that way for Kenny Pickett, and that's fine for Kenny Pickett. You know, Pittsburgh should have or could have won that game with or without him. But the point is that today it doesn't matter, does it? And Kenny Pickett's going to be thinking about doing what he has to do to become a highly compensated and highly picked player in the draft. He was not that guy before the season. He was not that guy in week 5. He was that guy after the season. That's the difference between playing in week 4.
He was in the top 4 quarterbacks for the season.
But he got invited to New York because of what he did throughout the entire season, not because of how he played in week 4. So I that's the difference. Since you asked me what the difference is, that's the difference. And his
but here's
body
the other
of work.
Difference. Here's the other thing that people forget. If you are thinking you're going to be a first-round draft pick, there are these things called insurance policies that kids take out.
Yeah, listen, dude, in some cases, you don't get paid for a year on that deal. It didn't help Ed Chester that much. It gave him a little money, but it wasn't one of those things. That's not to me, that's not a substitute.
He wasn't going to be a first-round draft pick.
Well, that's fine. That's fine, but he still could have had, a great career in the NFL and made tens of millions of dollars.
Okay, so, but he got hurt in a regular season game. Look, if you play football, there is a risk you're going to get hurt.
Sure, it's a violent game, and I get it.
You drive down I-75, there is a risk you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a couple of Facebook Lives here brought to you by Meldon Law. People talking about you got to have the personnel to run a 3-3 stack. That's exactly correct. I'm not saying Georgia's going to run the 3-3 stack. I'm saying they're going to implement some 3-man front with twisting games and passing situations that can cause some problems. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the other problem is, let's remember, the other problem is you got an All-American guy, a wide receiver that's not playing, and you're replacing him with a pretty damn good freshman, but it's not the same guy. So let's just keep that in mind, too. Jamison Williams benefits from a guy like Jamison Williams. Okay, you can say that. You said it before also. But the point is that Jamison Williams, it benefits having a guy like Mechie on the other side. It's the same thing with Alvin Harper and Michael Irvin or whatever. I'm just saying that it does matter not having a guy like Mechie in the game. But Georgia gets a second chance, and that always helps you because you can go back and fix some of the things, at least you think you can fix some of the things and make adjustments that didn't work the first time. If we were in the old BCS system, we would have had Alabama rope dragging Michigan across the grass, and it would be all over, okay? So this is why people are banging the table for the playoff. One of the reasons, because they want to see the right teams play for the championship. I think the committee's gotten it right in spite of some of these bad semifinal games, because typically the best team has won the national championship in this playoff system. We're going to expand the playoff system. It's going to happen. When, I don't know, but they need to make it faster than what it seems to be progressing right now. But I think it will once we see this the realignment of these conferences take place and so forth. And then we'll have, I think, what a lot of people are dying for. But we still have the two best teams playing. In the old BCS system that people like Barrett Sallee and Danny Cannell want to see, you would have had Alabama play Michigan, and we'd be all done with this, and Alabama would be on Sports Illustrated as the number 1 team again with the 18th national championship or 19th, and football would be over. But at least you get to give somebody like Georgia a mulligan. Georgia is a great football team. I don't know why people doubted them, because they got smoked by Alabama. That typically can happen, but they get another chance. So yippee for Georgia. And now people can afford to go to the game because Michigan's not there.
Turn your car truck into a rolling billboard from your business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot this January. Mention promo code Shane, receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. So, JC, right now, do you think Alabama can beat Georgia?
Give me what? Yes, of course they can beat Georgia. What the hell kind of stupid-ass question is that?
You picked Georgia to win the game the first time.
Yeah, so did you, and so did America. But when you saw that athletes play with each other,
I've seen now, my opinion is I think Georgia will win this game. That's just my opinion.
But what the fuck? I mean, sure, but I mean, people have seen Georgia win 12 games this year. You're not going out on a limb, QB, and that's fine. Take Georgia.
I was going out on a limb. Either one team's got to win. I'm just telling you the reasons why I'm picking Georgia to win. A, I don't think Alabama will throw all over them. I think Kirby will make adjustments. B, I do think Alabama still has offensive line issues.
Okay, how about C? What is Georgia going to do to score 40 points? That's C.
I don't think Alabama will score that many this time.
Well, usually when you beat Alabama, you have to score 30 to 40 points. You have to score over 30 points to beat Alabama. You have to score close to 40 to beat Alabama, QB.
Well, we'll see. I'm just saying, you know.
Okay, we will see.
This is an opinionated show here.
That's fine.
Your opinion? I'm giving you
not predicting the winner yet.
From a football standpoint, not from a fan. I'm talking schematic.
Oh, God.
Schematic. Okay, well, people want to look at results. I'm telling you right now, I did not think Alabama looked great against Cincinnati. Maybe I'm the only person in America.
No, listen, QB, you don't have to look great to beat Cincinnati. I mean, they didn't need to. QB, when you run the ball when you run the ball and you average 8 or 9 yards a carry, you don't have to get too crazy. You really just don't have to.
A group of 5. They didn't have the horses to hang. Go back.
They were in the semifinal.
Go back. And you tell me if you pass protected well. And you tell me if
let me ask you this. Do you think that, I don't know, do you think Cincinnati shouldn't have been in the game?
Cincinnati should not have. There should never be another group of 5 in the playoffs.
Yeah, see, you're going to have a lot of pushback on that. But do you think, well, Central Florida is a pretty good group of 5 team, I think. But do you think that,
this year.
I mean, they won 9 games, but yeah, I see what you're saying. They've had, do you think that, well, then who should have been 4?
I don't know. I'm just saying, in Alabama.
Well, you have to say something.
Against Cincinnati. It's all they had to score 40 to win.
No, QB. Cincinnati has to. If you're going to beat Alabama, you have to score 30 to 40 points to win the game. Most of the times it's 40. Now, if you think that Cincinnati didn't deserve to be in the game, like you have just said, who would you have put in there?
Either Oklahoma State, Baylor. Let me tell you something.
All right. Well,
Dave Aranda should be the coach of the year.
Well,
Baylor should be the coach of the year.
Yes, and the problem with what you just said, and I see what you're saying is you're talking about what you just saw. You're using your eye test to say that. You didn't say one thing about Baylor all year. I had to bring your attention to Baylor this year. But the point is, you didn't talk about Baylor much. But what I will tell you is if you said to the group of 5 team that's undefeated, that has a road win at Notre Dame, that a 2-loss Big 12 champion is more deserving or should be in front of you, then you would have had. I mean, can you imagine? Do you even know?
Baylor wouldn't have had 2 losses if they win their game against Oklahoma State. They would have 1 loss.
Baylor had 2 losses.
They would have had 1 loss if they win the championship, and then they go to. They had 2 losses on the year.
They won the championship. Gee whiz! Pay attention.
Oh, that's right. You're right. I'm thinking of Oklahoma State.
Come on. I mean, and then you've got Oklahoma State. I mean, what, you're going to put them in there ahead of Cincinnati because they I mean, come on. Yeah, the country would have revolted. You would have been so far in the minority on that choice.
So the country's happy Cincinnati played.
I'm telling you, that's the way it works until they expand the playoffs. You know that. I know that. We can't just say,
I will tell you this.
Because of Baylor,
if Baylor addresses their quarterback situation, they will be a very good football team.
Yeah, well, they are a very good football team. They've won a lot of football games.
Let's switch gears, and Dave Aranda should be coach of the year, in my opinion. Okay, some news and notes before we jump to the NFL. If you missed it Today we find out the wide receiver from UTEP, if he chooses Florida over the other schools. Also, Louisiana had two players that are highly rated on the NFL boards or what have you in the next couple of years, are transferring, a guard and a corner. So expect them to become Florida Gators. I forgot their names. All right, the NFL. Playoffs are kind of set. There's a lot. The Tennessee Titans are your 1 seed right now. JC's Jaguars obviously are not winning
the AFC
games like he predicted.
They are the 1 seed in the AFC, QB.
That's what I said.
Yes, you said they are the 1 seed, but the Green Bay Packers are the other 1 seed.
I didn't say. I said the Titans are the 1 seed in the AFC.
Right.
And I said your Jaguars are not winning 7 games. They need to clean house and rebuild their entire roster. They have no good players.
I think I had my first pick yesterday sitting in the Dallas airport going through the games was New England laying 16.5 against Jacksonville. I mean, this is one of those teams that's basically, cashed it in. The season's over. Indianapolis is playing them this next week. That won't be much of a competitive game. And that's, I guess, what happens to some of these pro teams, whether you like it or not. As for, the way the playoffs are set up with only one team getting a bye, this is all about money, having that extra playoff game. And you've got 3 wild card games. The only benefit to being the 2 is that if you win your first game, you get another home game. You don't get the week off, however. And really, when you think about Green Bay, after clinching home field last night, they effectively could have 2 weeks off now because they played Detroit. You probably won't see Aaron Rodgers play in that game. I don't see why he would. He's going to heal up that toe and get ready for the frozen tundra 3 weeks later. I mean, they're not – today, Aaron Rodgers is not planning on playing for 3 weeks. And that means he's not going to play against Detroit. That means, obviously, they're going to have the week off, and then they're going to have another week before they play, almost 3 weeks for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers to get healthy, which includes Aaron Jones, who's banged up, but he'll be ready to go. And the guy they've got, Dillon, coming in for him. There's no way right now that Green Bay should lose in the NFC. Everything lines up for them. It is their conference to take. The only way they don't win it is if Aaron Rodgers has a terrible game, and that's hard to see right now at this time of the year. So I think Green Bay is almost assured of getting to the Super Bowl, but it is the playoffs, and we'll see. You never know. But right now, the field is just about set. There are a couple of games left. The biggest one would be the Raiders and the Chargers playing for that for a potential spot, or the final spot rather, in the AFC. And their lucky reward for winning next week could be playing Kansas City on the road at Arrowhead. But the Chargers have won this year at Arrowhead. And that's the kind of team that could give Kansas City some fits. You just never know. They are a team that's reminiscent of a lot of those teams in the past that are very low seeds. But if they get hot, or if they take charge of their playoff destiny by winning an early road game in the playoffs, they could get hot and go right through it. And that's the kind of team you better watch out for. But I think right now it looks really good for Green Bay.
Yep, Green Bay for sure. Tampa's got some problems on defense, I'm telling you.
And offense.
With them missing, with Godwin out,
kills them.
Antonio Brown, I'm sure everybody saw it, quit in the middle of the game. He's got problems. Look, man, I hate seeing what happened, but he's got serious mental issues, and hopefully can get those addressed. But he'll never play again.
No.
We got a Facebook Live, Carl, brought to you by Mellon Law. Rick says Antonio Brown should be quietly put in a cab and sent to the airport to find his own way home. He actually called an Uber to take him to the airport after the game. He did. He tried to get a state trooper to take him, but the state trooper wouldn't take him.
So some folks are trying to understand what happened, but go ahead. I'll let you finish with these. Go ahead.
Well, we don't know what happened. I mean, he's been a loose cannon everywhere he's been. So we don't really know what happened, unless you know. JC, do you have inside information?
No, I don't. I have theories that I've read about that could have caused this ridiculous scene.
Is it all about incentives?
Part of it is, yeah. It's about the fact Yeah, he wasn't in well, anyway, I don't really want to waste time talking about Antonio Brown, but it had a lot to do with the incentives. It also had a lot to do with the fact that you're right. He's not all there. His elevator doesn't stop on all the floors. It just doesn't.
Cliff says, Shane, what do you think of Kellen Moore's play calling? I don't think he runs the ball enough. I think you should hand it to Zeke and Pollard more. At times, I think he's a good play caller. I tell you what, I think the Pollard kid's a better tailback than Zeke Elliott. He is more explosive. He can do more things. I would get him the ball more than I would Ezekiel Elliott. That's just me personally. If I was calling.
Well, Dallas, that's a tough loss. I mean, it took them from 3 down to 4. They could easily play and likely will play Arizona, in 2 weeks, another game with them. I don't know if Hopkins will be back for Arizona, but kudos to them for breaking that 3-game losing streak and winning without Hopkins. But when they have Hopkins, that is a team that is extremely dangerous. They are a team that's only lost once this season on the road, just once. They are a team that, if healthy, with James Conner running the ball, and if Hopkins is healthy, that's a team you better be careful about to watch. I mean, they're really good defense. Chandler Jones is one of the best in the league. So Arizona, if they can get healthy, would be a problem for folks. I think the Rams at home in LA could be a problem for folks. But again, it all has to go through Lambeau, and that's the bottom line. If you play in a 6-degree game in Lambeau, it's not easy, and I just don't see anyone beating them. Kansas City, explain this to me, QB. I'm at the Dallas airport watching the Kansas City Chiefs going up and down the field with relative ease. I mean, Mahomes looked like, he's starting to get into Super Bowl form. I get on a plane. We get up to 10,000 feet. I click on the Wi-Fi, turn it on, and next thing you know, there's Cincinnati about to win the game, calling some crazy stuff down on the goal line. Can you explain to me what was Zach Taylor was thinking in some of those situations?
He should have probably kicked it earlier, but what he was worried about is scoring too soon.
Too soon, yeah.
Well, first of all, the Bengals were going up and down the field more than Chiefs were going up and down the field. Wow. I mean, Burrow threw for 400-something yards on them. He was trying to score with no time left, and it almost cost him the game. It worked out because they got the pass interference call. But, yeah, I would have kicked that with about 30-something seconds left. And then if we go down and we lose. But, boy, he took a risk on those 4th downs.
He did on those 4th downs.
The Bengals win the AFC North. Burrow in year 2. For them. Year 2 or year 3 for him? I can't remember.
It's year 2. It's year 2. They want.
Good.
It's year 2.
He is as good as I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, and he got hurt last year in the end zone on a tackle and got his knee torn up pretty badly, but he's back. The thing about him is he's so tough that offensive line does not protect him necessarily great, and he gets hit a lot. But he gets up and he's a tough kid, and the Bengals have parts in place now, not just for this postseason, but Cincinnati could be a team that you look at for the next 3 or 4 seasons to be the favorite in that AFC North division now with the playmakers that they've assembled through the draft, getting Joe Burrow the help he needs. And if they can protect him a little better, Cincinnati is a real threat to win that division, not just, just because he's had a good year this year, but they could win it here in the next 2 or 3. They could be the team to beat in the AFC North is what I guess I'm trying to say. And, that was an amazing win. They kept Kansas City off the scoreboard in the second half. So whatever they did defensively was amazing. And that to me is as good as anything else I saw in that game, including what Burrow did with Chase, because Kansas City had no problem scoring until the second half, and they couldn't. And that was great adjusting or whatever happened. Cincinnati did something right. And the Bengals are a very interesting team that, again, you better score a lot of points if you're going to beat them. Yeah.
Yeah. The Dolphins are out of the playoff chase after winning, 8 straight or whatever it was. I'm not sure Tua is the answer down there. They have no explosibility on offense at all in the passing game. So it'll be interesting to see if the Dolphins make a move.
I don't know who they throw to. I mean, who does he throw it to?
Jalen Waddle. He's got good receivers.
Yeah, listen, I think
the kid from Louisville. They got good skill guys. He just I don't know. He's fragile. I don't think he has – you don't have to have a great arm, But when it's a bad weather place like it was yesterday up in Tennessee, I think he struggles throwing the football.
Yeah. Is this Henry come back for Tennessee? Do you know anything about his foot?
Supposedly he has been working out on his own. So we will see. Lauren says if the Titans get Henry back, they're going to the Super Bowl. I haven't seen. We don't really have the brackets because I know there's a.
I got them.
We don't know everybody. Know everybody in the playoffs.
Well,
the
today
have to beat the Jaguars to get in.
Yeah. So
and
let's
then the
assume
winner
that
of
happens.
San Diego, Oakland get in.
Well, San Diego. So the Aztecs are playing. So I think
they have to beat Oakland. The winner of the Raiders Chargers gets in.
I didn't know San Diego and San Diego and Oakland were still in the league. That's great.
Yeah, well, they are. They're playing this week.
That's right. San Diego and Oakland are playing on a neutral site in Las Vegas somehow. They just arranged that. But Oakland.
The bowl game. It's a meaningless bowl game.
San Diego and Oakland playing in Vegas for the right to go to Kansas City. Right now, Tennessee's the 1 seed. They would play if it wouldn't matter. We'll have to see who they play. They play the lowest seeded team to win the wild card weekend. So San Diego and Oakland. That's who I wish it was, but I'm glad Vegas has a team. I think that stadium is incredible, but poor Oakland, poor San Diego too. Yeah, owners didn't like those cities because they wouldn't build them a stadium. So.
There was a Facebook Live on here that I went. Oh, John says here on Facebook Live, and I don't know what he's talking about, so maybe he can chime in. He said the Ohio State DB who went off on Ohio State on Twitter Saturday night. I don't know what he's referring to there.
Yeah, I missed that too. Hey, QB, let me think now. Since San Diego's playing Oakland, does that mean that the Houston Oilers are they get the bye?
They're the number 1 seed right now.
So the Oilers, Houston Oilers are the 1 seed. Damn, boy, Bum Phillips must be happy in his grave right now. That's awesome.
Yep. All right, JC, before we let you go, I want you to hear This Day in Sports brought to you by Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp's now hiring team members with all levels of experience. Great culture and benefits and opportunity for growth. $1,000 signing bonus. Give Comfort Temp a call, 352-376-2366. On This Day in Sports, in 2007, JC, you know what happened in 2007 on this day?
LSU won the championship, maybe?
No, it's probably the most significant thing that ever happened to your football program that you claim to be a fan of.
That I claim to be a fan of? It's not a claim, brother. Yeah. It's a right. This guy flies in from Miami, and history begins. The dynasty begins.
Miami Dolphins head coach Nick Saban resigns after agreeing to return to college football and takes over job at Alabama.
Unbelievable. QB, you were and the funny thing is that this guy, there's so many things you can say, so many records you say. I'll just leave you with this one. In the college football playoff and BCS era, Alabama's played 9 times and they're 6-2. And this guy is the reason for the season. And it's just unbelievable. All the NFL players they have, if you don't have to like Alabama, that's fine, but you're not a serious football fan if you don't respect what he's done as probably the greatest coach to ever go through the college football.
I got a couple of tweets I got to read. Before I let you go. This one's from somebody on Twitter Friday evening. Says, "Good night, Michigan. This is an absolute ass kicking, but at least your band wore masks."
I love that, Clay Travis.
Funny.
That's so funny. That's okay. Clay Travis. Yeah.
So speaking of the SEC will win national title number 12 in 16 years.
Yeah.
If Georgia wins, those titles will have come from 5 different programs.
Okay. Yeah. The world is rooting for Georgia. I love it. That's just exactly what I was hoping for.
That's not what I said.
I know what you're saying. I know. But what I just said
I don't think the world's rooting for Georgia. I guarantee you Florida's fans ain't rooting for Georgia. Yeah,
that's true. Listen, Georgia, let's say they do win, and that's the 5th team to win it in this whole scenario. So many people wanted to bury the SEC because of the bad start in the lower tier bowl games some of which could have gone either way, but nobody is mistaken what happened on New Year's Day, and nobody's mistaken what happened on New Year's Eve. And so when you have two teams from the same conference playing for it all again, then the rest of the country just needs to shut, because when you start pounding the SEC for this or for that, you start looking ridiculous. And I thought people who were doing this publicly liked it to be taken seriously. They're not taken seriously if they start pounding on the Southeastern Conference for being a conference that's dead. If you look at the way it recruits, if you look at the teams, and I'm telling you, the next dynasty, whatever that is, could easily be in Texas at College Station with the way he's recruiting. But that's just another example of how the West is so dominant in this conference with these teams, and Georgia is so good at recruiting, and they haven't won a championship in 41 years, but somehow Kirby is able to attract these players. So you got to.
Well, they've only played for it once. He's only been there 5 years.
No, I know, I know, but the school hasn't won it in 41, and that's just the thing, is that they've come so close, and so players, guys are attracted to that. The guys are attracted to schools like Alabama, Texas A&M, hopefully Florida, if the Gators can get Billy Napier going strong. So we'll see. But the league, you're not a serious journalist or whatever you want to call yourself if you start, dog cussing the SEC and saying it's all over because you just have this little animus for the SEC because you don't get the respect you think you deserve over in the ACC.
It's simple. So, it doesn't matter where you write or what teams you cover. If you can't see that the better football players and the better teams are in the Southeast, you're a moron.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is you can't be taken seriously if that's the case. You just can't be.
Okay, real quick before we let you go, the John replied about the Ohio State DB. He said he retired at halftime of the Rose Bowl. He actually didn't make the trip. Come on. Why is this thing not coming up? Here it is. Well, I don't know why this thing won't scroll. But he said something on here about he didn't make the trip. There was a whole thread of tweets on how unfair the athletes get treated and how Urban was a racist.
Oh, God. Why is anybody talking about Urban Meyer right now? I mean, who cares? I mean, this guy is not going to be in the business for years now. He's out for a while, if maybe forever. So, yeah, I mean, out with the old. Okay, I don't know. Who cares what Urban Meyer did or didn't do at Ohio State? My God, something for Urban Meyer, all the greatness they all wanted. He won at one time with a backup quarterback that got lucky. And after that, he couldn't beat Michigan State at home. All right. Same thing happened at Florida. After 2008, he couldn't win anything. So, he did win. Sure. Okay, great. Those teams had a lot of controversy. The problem with Urban Meyer is that he's not a very nice guy. Okay. He's not highly regarded. He's just not. He's just a schmuck. And that's
all right, JT.
Let him figure it out.
Tape on the pass protection and tell me if they can get better.
Okay, I'm going to let you know on Wednesday how Alabama's going to beat Georgia. Okay, all right.
Yep. JC, join us on the Titan Number Hotline. I'll take a timeout. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avera and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. At South State Bank, we understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State has 4 convenient, Alachua County location. South State Bank, banking forward. Remember, FDIC. I want to thank JC for joining us on the Titan Moore Hotline. He gets so disturbed when I try to tell him Georgia can beat Alabama. I do think Georgia's going to win this game. Asa says, no, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, no self-respecting Gator would ever cheer for a Georgia Bulldog. I agree. I'm not cheering for them, but I do think they're going to win the game. I think Alabama misses John Mechie a lot. And if you go back, you watch that game, they had issues protecting, and Bryce Young, that was the least comfortable I ever seen him in the pocket this year. Not saying Georgia can do it to him, but I just don't think Kirby and Georgia is going to allow Bryce Young to have the day that he had in the Georgia Dome, or whatever it's called nowadays. So there's that. You know, I still have issues with the whole opting out thing, because I really don't believe that a bowl game is any different than week 3 or week 4 or week 5 in the season. If that's the case, and you think you're a first-round draft pick, don't play college football. Just work out every day. John says, good news, QB, Peyton and Eli are back tonight. Heck yeah. Wish they were on every Monday night, and probably that's the only – well, I always watch them when they're on, because the game I don't think means anything tonight. I think both these teams are out of the playoff hunt. John says, good news that what did he say here? Oh, he wanted to commend me on being more active on Twitter. Yeah, I was at different places this weekend, and so I watched a lot of ball, and I tweeted some here and there, gave my thoughts. Asa says, choking is a Georgia tradition. Yeah, I mean, shoot, playing for the national title, regardless if you win or lose it, I wouldn't say they choke, but I think they have a very good chance in this game. Folks, if you're looking for a great Italian restaurant, check out Pomodoro Cafe. They serve authentic Italian cuisine in Gainesville since 1991. Their family's proud to share their traditional recipes with yours. Ask them about our complimentary bottle of wine when dining in for 2 on Sundays and Mondays. That's Pomodoro Cafe in Gainesville. A couple more minutes here on the program today. Tomorrow we'll be back in action with Buddy Martin. Wednesday, hoping to have Chris Harry join us. Gators get back into basketball. We host Alabama Wednesday evening in the O'Connell Center. So we'll get his thoughts. It's been a while since we played with all the COVID issues around the country. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see once the NFL playoffs come around if COVID affects any of the playoff teams. We did see where they've changed their policy. You know, Carson Wentz, who tested earlier in the week, I think they changed it to their 5 days, was available to play for the Colts. And the Colts play the Jaguars Sunday. If they win, they're in. If they lose, I don't know what happens. Somebody else will have to fill me in on all that. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. If you missed it, Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns have 2 kids that entered the transfer portal, very highly regarded starters. One, maybe both of them, they have 2 years of eligibility remaining. Big offensive guard, and a corner. Most people think they will transfer to Florida. Also today, Gators will find out if they pick up a commitment from the UTEP wide receiver, who has a couple offers. So I don't know much about him. I just know that we need playmakers, and I assume he is a playmaker. John says, do we know if the basketball team has been practicing or have they been quarantined? They've been practicing, I believe. I thought I saw Chris Harry tweet something about a couple of practices the last couple of days. So should be ready to roll, and Bama, very good basketball team, rolls into town Wednesday. Richard is saying he is favoring Bama in the game. I think most people will. I think anytime Nick Saban's coaching and people saw what Alabama did to Georgia in the championship game, I don't blame them. I just think I do think Kirby and those guys will make some adjustments in the secondary this time around, and I think they can really utilize some of the stunts and games that Cincinnati threw at Alabama to cause some issues in their protection. Asa says, Shane, seriously, the Jags are horrible. What are their immediate needs besides an offensive line? They need guys that can score touchdowns. I know James Robinson, I believe he's hurt. I think he's a good little back. He's not a starting running back in the National Football League. I believe Trevor Lawrence has a chance to be a good player, but they have one of the worst rosters from a talent standpoint in the National Football League. They need guys that can score touchdowns. I don't think their receiving corps is worth a darn. I don't like their backs. Obviously, their offensive line is not very good. They need an overhaul, and it'll be interesting to see who they bring in. You know, some of these teams, you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, 2 years ago, they had the first pick of the draft. They take Joe Burrow. Last year, I believe they had the fifth or fourth pick of the draft. They take Jamar Chase, and now they go 10-6, win their division. So it can happen quickly if you bring in the right coach and you make the right personnel decisions. Andy says Trevor Lawrence is regressing. Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't put much stock into it because he probably has the worst talent around him than anybody in the league, especially from a rookie quarterback standpoint. I think the Jets have better talent than the Jags. John says on Facebook Live, Florida, FSU, LSU, Alabama are just a couple of examples. Not sure what he's referring to there. Oh, he's talking about beating good teams twice. He's referring to when the Gators lost to FSU in '96, beat them in the Sugar Bowl for the national title. Then LSU beat Alabama. I think that was the 9-0 game. And then Alabama beat them in the Sugar Bowl 21-0 for the national title. So, yes, it is difficult to do. And, guys, say what you want to say. I know we all hate what Georgia's doing, but, boy, they got some good players. And they showed that the other night. Let's take a quick timeout, come back. We'll wrap up this Monday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Rap Spot, Aikido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, Regal Cinemas, Le Macaron, Dave & Buster's, Medici's, Palmetto Moon, and the HBC's restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, now serving brunch on Saturday and Sundays. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Heard there was a big shindig, big party at Spurrier's New Year's Eve. I heard it was a good time. So if you went there, hope everybody enjoyed it. Again, we'll have Buddy Martin in the morning, get back on our regular schedule now as the holidays are over. And we hope to have, we're going to have Chris Doring on, I believe, Wednesday as well. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Today's show's a wrap brought to you by Rap Spot. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.